All right. Today, in just a few minutes, we're going to start on our next project, which is to try to create a blog app. And it'll include a MongoDB database where we'll be able to register users and also be able to, once users are registered and logged in, they'll be able to create blogs, etc. All right. Before we do, though, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you back your Node.js stock apps that we wrote in class. Now, I just want you to understand this. Basically, we did this together. All right? So what I asked you to do was to take the home page and make it your own. So if you made absolutely no changes to the home page, you lost some points. All right? The other thing you were supposed to do was you were supposed to take percentage fields and format them. So in other words, I didn't want something like this. I wanted something like this. And finally, for monetary fields, they should have looked like this and not like this. So if you didn't do one or more of those, you lost points. All right? And we're going to push this thing in just a couple minutes. And if you don't want to push this one, you can push a different one out to Heroku. All right? But I would have... You think it should be this one. Now, if for example, on the footer, if you didn't at least put your own name in there and change that, put your own name in there. Now, I said I'd prefer that you not use the 73 different companies and symbols, and most of you did anyway, but one of you at least hid them, and you put a button in there, and that was fine. Or you put in some kind of an explanation first. But again, that's why I said I wanted it to be more a reflection of you. I didn't want all of them to look alike, is what I'm saying. All right? And same thing with the About page, same thing with the Contact page. So I'll give you these back. Now, before we go on and do that, which we're going to do literally in just a second, but before we do, let's take a look at the next two assignments. One of them was already due, and you may have turned it in already, you may not have. All right, the one was to complete the Books app, the CRUD REST API, using MySQL. It was basically the same assignment, but you were doing it once using MySQL, and you were doing it once using Mongo. And the one for MySQL, you were supposed to turn in screenshots of the tests you made. And ideally, that was going to make it much easier when you ran basically the same tests using Mongo. So again, I'm going to look at those tomorrow and see what people have done. So if you haven't turned it in, please, for goodness sakes, try to get it turned in by tomorrow. Okay, as you can see, it's worth 100 points. And as far as, again, how I'm going to grade that, well, does it work? And what else were you supposed to do? You were supposed to complete the other 2/3 of the app. So you were supposed to create an author controller and an author model. You were supposed to create a publisher controller and a publisher model. All right, that'll be a lot of the points. Plus, you were supposed to massage the code, let's just say, in the server.js file so that those worked. All right? All right, so I'll just leave that there. And then the other one that's due, I think it's a week from today. I don't remember. But it's pretty much the same thing. And I think, unfortunately, and if I did this, I'm sorry, this one said MySQL too, and it shouldn't have. It's the Mongo one. So again, we're doing basically the same kind of thing, but we're doing it in Mongo. And again, you had to do the same kind of thing in that you had to add what we didn't do as a class. Now, are there any questions on that? Anything that you don't understand that you're supposed to be doing? Yeah.
I just want to clarify that the MySQL was the only thing due today, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Then with that, and I've got some of my own notes here, a little cheat sheet for me, and that is what I'm going to go here, but I'd like, because it doesn't always resonate that well on here, I would like all of you to go out to the URL that I'm about to put in here. All right, and that URL is In fact, let me put it in, and I'll make it bigger so you can all see it. All right, so let me grab this and make it a lot bigger. Or maybe let me not grab all of it. All right, so that's it right there. I don't think yeah, it should be correct at least. Let me double check. I will bring that up also. So it's coming right back. Oops. Just want to make sure I didn't. Okay, yeah, that's correct. If it looks like this, getting started with Heroku, on Heroku with Node.js, it's correct. So bring it up, there it is. Now I'm taking for granted that every one of you in here, you've all now got a Heroku account, and you've all downloaded the Heroku CLI that we talked about last time. All right, if for some reason you don't have first one, you don't have the second one, and if for some reason you never downloaded the CLI, you'll have to do that. All right, has everybody been able to navigate to this page? All right. So they've got basically a walkthrough in here. We're not going to follow this because we're going to follow most of the steps, but not all of them, because what they have in here is they have a demo project that they want you to use to do this. We're going to use instead our Node stock app, or whatever you call that thing. Okay? I am assuming that the version that you turned in is good enough that you're willing and able to go push that thing out to the internet. All right? And like I said, that's what we're going to do right now. Now, a couple things. First of all, like I said, we're not going to exactly follow these steps. We're going to go through most of them, but we don't have to do all of them. Secondly, and don't ask me why, but this being a free product, when Heroku creates a URL for you, it's going to be a weird name. Like it might be like Dandelion 357 or something. I mean, it's just different. You can do a rename on it, and you can rename it something else if you want to. It's not a problem. All right, so taking it from the top, just so you know, I'm going to keep this, but if I just go to the Dev Center, see, this is where I got that from. So they've got it basically, because you can use Heroku with just about anything. If you want to create an app in anything and push it out there. And there are some generic types of things that are in here if you're interested in that. But again, I just wanted to go to the Node one. All right? And notice when you go to the Node one, if I click the Getting Started with Heroku, that's exactly where you are right now. All right, and that's where I wanted you to be. Okay, so in this example, we're not using a database. All right, we're going to also go and push, maybe we'll do that later this week or we'll do it next week. I don't know, but we'll push one or both of the APIs that you've been working on, the MySQL one and the Mongo one. We'll push those out there too. There's a little bit more work involved when you actually, because when you think about it, all the work we've done so far with a database, everything that we've done thus far has been a database. We've had it on the client. It's been on our machine. So in order to be able to use that with Heroku and have it out on the internet, we're going to have to go and push that out to a server someplace. All right, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Okay, so setup. Again, this is where if you didn't have the CLI, you could click the 64-bit installer, etc. Whenever they say sudo like this in brew, that's Mac, just so you know. With Mac, sometimes before you can run something, you have to say sudo, which means give me admin permissions. All right? All right. So then they've got prepare the app. Well, guess what? We're not using, they want you to clone their starter project. So again, we don't have to do this. All right? Now, so what's next? It says deploy the app. All right? We are going to deploy it, but we're not going to do it in this order, just because I want to make sure we've got everything done that we need to have done. Then they've got view logs. All right? Now, the way they have you do this, just so you know, the way they have you do this, when you deploy the app the first time, you probably don't have one of these proc files. Since you probably don't have one of these proc files, it's not going to work when you deploy it. All right? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go find wherever your Node stock app is and bring it up in Visual Studio Code. Now, I don't even know where the heck mine is. So I'm just going to go and I'll just bring up something in Visual Studio Code. It's not going to matter because I'm not going to throw mine out there anyway. In fact, maybe I'll try this. I'll try this. We were playing with this in class today. I've got this Alphanos thing. All right, you all know what that is. All right, so I don't want to do that one because I've got a dist in there. Tell you what, that's fine. So from here, I'll just open this up with Visual Studio Code. What I want all of you to do is you may or may not have a gitignore file in yours. We've talked a little bit about gitignore, but not for a while. You also may or may not have a .env file in yours. You probably don't, and that's totally fine. But if you don't have a gitignore file in there, go create one right now, a .gitignore, and it should have this in there. That's really all you need to put in there is node modules. Because when we push this out to Heroku, we don't need that node modules folder in there. All that's going to do is provide code bloat that we don't need. So make sure you do it, right underneath the regular system, etc. itself, and .gitignore, okay, and node modules, okay. Now, the other thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create one of these proc files. Before we create it, because again, it's only one line, let me just show you. You may or may not have even thought about this before, but crummy example. Let me come in here and do this. Okay. npm init. I'm just going to do an npm init right here real quickly. I've got just a junk folder, but that's fine. All right. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So you know this already because we've talked about this. That when you come in here, and we're going to pretend that I have an actual working program in here. I don't, but we're going to just pretend that we do anyway. So I'll have this server.js file right here. Yeah, I want to change that. And I have this package.json. All right. So we've done this kind of thing before, all right? Again, it wouldn't have this name, etc. You get all that stuff. But if you remember, we've always put two things in here. We have had something like start, and then we had node server.js, okay? And then we've had dev, and we put in something like nodemon server.js. All right, we've gone over before what this is, and I think that everybody gets this. All right, we bring nodemon into the system so it's monitoring, so we don't have to constantly be starting and stopping, and etc. the server. Now, this one is the one where actually I think I'll look in just a minute. We're going to change in just a minute because this is the line that the proc file is going to need. So hold on before you do anything with it. So let's just jump back into here. All right. So it's got here in step 5, define a proc file. It says use a proc file, and this file has to be called proc file with a capital P and no extension. Everybody hear that? All right. And it says it should look pretty much like this. Because what this does is, again, there's no way in heck that Heroku should have to know the name of your project. So you've already got a start file in yours that says basically node index.js or node server.js or node app. You get the idea. All right. So we are going to put in this line right now. So go here, open up where it says define a proc file, open that up, grab this line that's right near the top that says web npm start, copy it to the clipboard, or if you'd rather type it in, I guess that's fine too. Then go back again in here into here, and now we're going to come in and we're going to right mouse click here and choose new file, type in proc file, like that, and put that in. Then save that file, and you can close it. That's the only thing you need to do with that. But again, that's what Heroku needs in order to start the application. All right? So you put that in, you save, and then you can close that. You should also be able now to close your package.json file too. All right, so I'm going to jump back into here. So the next thing that they talk about in here, again, I'm following my steps. Oh yeah, did that. All right, we've got our git ignore. Now, since we actually added a file, I think you'd all agree, since we just added a file, you got to go back and you've got to do, you know what these are, all right? You're going to have to come back in here again and do your npm. You've already got the init. You should already have a git folder in there, but not npm, I'm sorry. You're going to have to come back and do a git add dot to add that. You know what that is, etc. All right? Now, I don't have a git repository, so I'm getting an error. Don't worry about it. That's totally fine. Again, if I want to, I can do a git init, and then I can put that in, and it'll do that. All right? Again, I've only got the one or two garbagey files in there. So you want to do a git add dot. Then you want to do your git commit -m, all right, and some kind of a message, like added proc file, or if you don't like that, just put in whatever message you want. I don't know, for whatever reason, people seem to think that when I type something, a comment, they've got to type it exactly the same. By no means do you have to do that. Put in a comment that makes sense to you, okay? So, and then you'll have to do your push. So your git push, what is it, minus, I always forget, -u is it? Origin, and it's either master or it's main, whatever one you push to. All right, I'm not going to do that because I don't have anything on GitHub built with this. All right, and you shouldn't run into any problems with that. Hopefully you don't. All right, and once you do, you really should go back, bring up GitHub, bring up your GitHub, make sure, refresh bring up that particular repository, refresh it, and make sure it's got your new change in it. Because if it doesn't, when we go out there, it's not going to work. So you should have something in there that says it was just changed a minute ago or something like that. Does all this make sense to everybody? All right. All right. So we've done step 1. We've done step 2. We did a little bit of out of order, but we did step 5. Now we can jump back to step 3 here. All right, so I want you to do this, and do this from your command window right here, this thing, this window. All right, and again, you should be at your Node stock app thing, and type in Heroku create. Now, you can type it in and you can hit enter. You very well might be asked for your password. Hopefully, when you created your account, you remember what that password is. 'Cause I can't help you with that. But try doing a Heroku create right there. Sometimes it appears to ask for a password, sometimes it does not ask for a password. I even know people that when they do this, they don't put in a password, all right, just so they don't have to. The problem with that is if somebody finds that out, all right, they can, wreak havoc possibly and put something on your account that they shouldn't. All right, so it'll probably, it may go through the whole process of asking you to log in, etc. Okay, but did anybody do that and have any problems with it? So we're all caught up? correct?
Okay, I need to reset my password, I think.
Okay, well, we're going to wait then. I mean, the first time we do this, I would like it if everyone's worked. And one thing I noticed this morning, no matter how, I taught them today how to go and put a site out on GitHub pages. No matter how slow I talked, it was too fast. All right, I don't want to do that again.
I guess if the GitHub desktop thing really saves a heck of a lot of time.
Well, and if you know, there, as Gabriel just said, there is a GitHub desktop rather, and I've used it and I've had mixed success with it. I've had, when I've shown it to people and they've done it, it's like, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't this work? I don't know. So that's why I use the other one. But there's nothing wrong with using that. You're right. Now, notice what it says here, too. Don't worry, we're not going to do it yet, but it says here, when you create an app, a Git remote called Heroku is also created. Then it says Heroku generates a random name. In this case, SharpRain 871. That's, like I said, you're going to find stuff like that. It's, but there is a rename that you can use on it then. So we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. And I'll tell you what, while you're waiting, because I should have printed out, I had something I wanted to do today, so let's see. We'll go to about there. Should be good. Now, I'm not sure. What I plan on doing is going till about 2 o'clock every day this week. All right? Now, are you going to that thing tomorrow?
I am.
Okay. So maybe tomorrow we'll change it around and I'll go 2 to 4 because that should give you enough time to go back. Are you?
I'm going early, so I'll try.
Okay.
I'm going to try to be
All
back by
right. If you're not
10
back, then we'll do. We'll work around it. How's that?
Thanks.
But my guess is that even spending 2 hours on this every day this week, we're not going to get it done. So I'm also allotting next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for this. Now, I'm going to tell you something I probably shouldn't be telling you that right now. Next week on Thursday and Friday, the 21st and 22nd, there will be class. That said, your instructor won't be here. All right? I talked to Mr. Corrigan last summer. I'm going to a wedding in Iowa, a family friend. And it's on Friday. But I told him I wanted to go up and leave at noon on Saturday, or on Thursday rather, and he said, you've got so much vacation time, just take Thursday and Friday. So the other class doesn't even know it yet, but this room will still be open. It's going to be lab both days. Mr. Corrigan is going to write down who was here and who wasn't here. So if you do miss, that's not my call, that's your call, but you will be marked absent. Make sense to everybody? Okay. Did you get it said?
Yeah, it's gave me a just said creating app done, and then like Young Springs, and I
Yes.
guess that's the random name.
Yes. All right. So you've all done the Heroku create, correct? All right. Then the next step is the one that says, that's right here. Now, you want to say git space, push space, Heroku space, and if yours is master, you use master. If yours is main, you use main. But just take a look here before you even hit enter. This is going to spin for a while, and it can take up to a few minutes because it's doing a lot of different stuff. All right, while it's getting everything ready for you. So like I said, don't expect that you're going to get your prompt back like that. It probably, at least, is not going to happen. So please type in that command, git space, push space, Heroku space, and if you use main, then main, and if you use master, then master. Really not good. Like I said, even if it spins for a bit and you're like, this is taking too long, no, it's not. When you eventually, eventually, that sounds weird, get back your prompt, okay? Try typing in Heroku space open and see if it actually opens it. If you get an application error, it's okay. All right?
Yeah, I got it. The push didn't work. Just as Heroku does not appear to be a Git repository.
Okay, before you did the push, did you do an Heroku create? You did?
Yeah, I did that and it asked me to log in.
Okay, and you logged in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you, before we started, did you go back and push everything onto GitHub?
Yeah,
Okay, then we'll take a look at it in just a minute. Okay?
it gave me a web address.
All right. All right. If for some reason it comes back and it gives you an application error, typically the best thing to do is literally wait for about 5 minutes and try to refresh your screen, because even though it gave you your prompt back, it may still be building it. All right? Did anybody try doing it and it came back with your app? So yours is up?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you did everything that I just told you, right? I mean, it's like, what I'm telling you is, it's not like I made something up, and it shouldn't be that any of you skipped anything. All right? But we will make sure, before we go on, that everybody's comes up eventually. All right? And again, if for some reason you got an error or whatever, it doesn't mean necessarily you did anything wrong. Don't have to do that. All right, like I said, either you should be able to copy in the URL, literally whatever they gave you, some goofy URL, or you should be able to do a Heroku open and it should come up. Now, it should be long enough that if you're still getting an application error, something's hinky. We'll try to figure out what it is in just a couple minutes. But like I said, Mr. McCardle there just said that he followed the same steps you did and his came up. That doesn't mean you necessarily did anything wrong. All right? I mean, I had one of the students today kept saying, why isn't mine working? Why is everybody else's working? Unless I sit there and watch every step you type in, I can't tell you that for sure. All right? And I'm not saying you did anything wrong, and that's what I told him too. In fact, we went through and he'd already done there were about 10 steps, and he'd already done 5. But the 5 hardest ones, I watched him do them, and he did everything correctly. All right. Now, if you want to try this, Aaron, I believe, let's see. I'm going to go look here just to be sure. I think you can say this. If you've got your app up and running right now, you can say Heroku space apps, because it's the only app you've got out there right now. And of course, you don't say remain, say rename, and give it another name. So, for instance, if it's got some goofy name and you just want it to be called, Aaron McCardle stock app, I would recommend that everything that you put out there, you preface with your first initial and your last name dash that. because then it's yours. All right. There probably isn't another C. Gleason, A. Shelton, G. Breeding, A. McCardle, etc. There probably isn't those out there, at least with that whole name. All right. And I think there's another way you can rename it too, and they talk about that in here. The bottom line is this, and like I said, if you're still having problems, we'll look at it together. But this is where you go. This is where I went to run through all those steps. All right? There are a lot of YouTube videos on this. Some of them are really, really extensive. I mean, I watched one last year that had what I just showed you. He did it for like a half an hour, and I don't know what he did that we didn't do. All right. All right. So yours didn't come up either? Okay. Sorry. So we will take a look at that. And I'll tell you what. It's 12:33. We'll take a break right around 1 o'clock or a little after, and we'll try to look at everybody's to see if we can get them to work. Okay? But before we do that, then let's just go on. I've got my notes in the other room. I just printed them off my copy. So let me grab those, and we'll start right up. Connection to the printers. Let me check that. There was nothing there. And I did. Says I'm on that. Now, just so you have an idea of what's going on for the rest of the semester, we're going to work on this for the next couple weeks. All right. After we get done with this, you'll get some lab time every day to work on them. But after we get done with this, then we're going to go into something that's called React, which is kind of a front end for this. And if you say, I don't know what that means, you'll understand once we go through it, okay? And we will have, again, we'll go through a project as a class, probably for the equivalent of your test on this. What I'll ask you to do, and we'll see, is to possibly this blog project that we're starting, I might ask you to rewrite it with a React front end, because then you'll still have the whole back end will be done already. All right? And then once we get done with that, we're halfway done just about with the semester already, and we're getting into some harder stuff. Then it'll be to start working on this project as a class, some kind of a store or something like that, and you'll be doing that for your final project. Okay. All right, so with all that said then, let's just get started. What we're going to do now is, rather than having us worry about, well, my front end looks like this, your front end looks like this, etc., we're going to go out and grab a front end. All right, what do I mean? I'm going to show you right now. I'd like everybody, regardless of where you are right now, to open up a new tab in your browser and go out to startbootstrap.com. All right, startbootstrap.com. All right, it should look something like this once you get there. Okay? Now, we're writing a blog, so if you go down to, I think it's templates, isn't it? Templates or themes? Themes. go down on themes, and you go down to the very bottom, and there's blog. All right? Now, normally I'd say pick out one you like. The problem with that is that the code that's going to be written is going to be different depending on which one of these you print out. Does that make sense? It doesn't call everything that's in there the same thing. So I just picked out one, and that's the one that we're going to use. All right? And that one is down here, this clean blog that's right here. So go ahead and click on that. And when we first start, at least, this is kind of what it's going to look like. And don't worry, you're going to make a lot of changes to it. All right? But you don't have to do this. But if I click on Live Preview, this is kind of what it's going to look like when we get started. So that's the home page. There's an About page. There's a sample post page. There's a contact page. I'm hoping that what I'm about to say right now goes without saying that you're going to change each one of these images. Because again, I want you to change the images. I want there to actually be some text in here that makes sense. I don't want it to be a waste, basically. You know, if you got an About, I don't want Lorem Ipsum text in here. All right? Again, this is you trying to sell yourself to a potential employer. All right? Okay. So, with that said, from over here, let's see. And I got to remember because it's been a bit. All right, try that again. Okay. Themes, blog. All right. Let's see. Free. I'll click the free download button in the upper right-hand corner. All right, so click on here. And I guess this is it. Free download. All right. So, are you all here? Let's make sure this is right. I'm going to click free download right there. All right. We'll know real fast whether or not this worked. Because first thing I'm going to do is take this after we've got it in here, and I'm going to extract it. All right. And then open it up, and there it is. Okay, so you should have the same thing after you extract it. All right. So again, if I went too fast, I said right here, just click the free download. Once it comes up, extract it. All right. So, as you'd probably guess, the next thing we want to do is we want to take this thing that's called Start Bootstrap Clean Blog GH Pages, and we want to take that folder and move that folder to wherever you do your stuff. I'm going to move mine to the desktop. All right, move it wherever you want to move it. It's, wherever you put your projects. And after you've got it moved over there, let's just change the name and let's keep it simple. So let's change the name of the folder to blog. All right. So when you do this, you should now have a folder on your desktop. And that folder should be called blog, and it has in it an assets folder, a CSS folder, a JS folder, and these 4 files. Now, we're not going to do this right this second, but hopefully you understand that eventually we're going to convert all of these. We'll just use EJS, embedded JavaScript. So we're going to convert about.html will become about.ejs. Contact.html will be contact.ejs, etc. Don't change them now, but we'll change all of them. All right? So we're going to do that in not too long of a time. All right. So this is what we have in here right now. All that makes sense? All right. Let's come in then, and I'll tell you what. I'm going to open up my folder in Visual Studio Code because that's probably what you're going to end up using for this too. So this is what we have. All right? But the other thing is, you already know this, and you can do this any way you want to do it. I'm not going to worry about Git right now. We will create the repository and do all that stuff later. It's not that big a thing right now. But for right now, I'm going to come in here, and you do it whatever way you want, but I want you to create a new text document, and we're going to put in here server.js. This is going to be our main file that's going to run the program. All right? And again, we're taking it slow. We're taking it simple. In fact, I guess, why don't we just do this right now? So from in here, let's right mouse click in here and choose Git Bash here. And let's do a git init. All right, so we've now got the repository. And let's also go out to our GitHub account, which you had open from before. And again, create a new repo in there, however you create your new repos, and just call it the same thing. Blog, all lowercase, is fine. All right, again, I'm going to make mine public, you make yours private, etc. Any questions on that? Problems with that? All right, so after you've done that, I'm going to create the repository. After you create your repository, look up on the screen, please. Make sure you copy this line right here, as we always do, to set up our remote add for us. So right mouse click on that and choose copy. We're eventually going to push this thing out to Heroku. All right. So we've got all that. In fact, I got a lot of stuff open here. I'm just going to close a few things. So give me a second here. All right, so back over here, I'm going to paste that in. So I've got in my git remote, add origin, etc. Okay, hit enter. As always, if you just get back your prompt, it all worked. I can double check by doing a git space remote -v, and it should have this in there. Except again, yours will be changed, so it'll have not my login, but your login. Okay? Questions on any of that? Again, as I mentioned, we're going to take this nice and slow. What I mean is, there's probably about a good dozen packages we're going to add. All right? But rather than having you do an npm I and put in package 1, package 2, package 3, package 4, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to add packages as we need them. Does that make sense? All right. So the first thing we're going to do, why don't we just get it out of the way? So let's do our npm init. All right. And yeah, it's called blog. That's good. Version's fine. Description. This will be a, I don't know, I'm just going to say a blog app using Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. If you don't like that, again, put in whatever you'd like to put in. Okay? All right, the entry point will be server.js. The test command, we changed that manually. The Git repository is already set. The keywords, I'm just going to leave it blank. If you want to put in keywords, go ahead and put in keywords. The author, feel free as always to put in your name. The license, I like MIT because I know that that's an open source license. Is everything okay? Yes. And I always like to open up my package.json file just to make sure everything looks okay. All right. So there it is. Yours should look similar to that. Maybe not identical, but it should look similar to this. Questions? All right. As we always do, let's get rid of this test line here. Let's put the comma here. And let's add our dev, and we'll put in our nodemon server.js. Okay, make sure you put the comma there, and then, so what I've added, I removed the line that said test, and then I added everything that you see there in gray. All right, questions? Anybody? All right. Does it all make sense? All right. So we've got that done. I'm going to save this, my package.json file, and I'm going to close it because for right now I don't need it. All right?
Now the npm init?
We already did the npm init. That made the package.json file for us. All right. So now in here, let's just bring in nodemon. So npm I minus capital D, because again, this is a developer dependency, nodemon. Just like that. So that's the first thing that we're bringing in. All right. And again, if you want to verify it, you don't have to, but I can go back into my package.json and make sure that that's been brought in as a developer dependency, and there it is. All right. Now, for now, we're going to add a bunch more, but for now, let's just add two other dependencies. All right. So we will come in here and say npm I. These will not be developer dependencies. All right. So we will add express and we will add path. So npm space I space express space path. Questions? All right, and then hit enter. All right, and I'm going to clear. Now again, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to go back and again look at my package.json. Now I have my regular dependencies in here as well. So there's express and there's path. Eventually, like I said, there's going to be quite a few more of these in here other than just this, and that's totally fine. All right. Now, one of the things we're going to do is, again, I'm going to basically build out most of the controller stuff right inside of server.js, and I'm going to expect you to basically build your own controller. But I'm going to show you kind of a little twist, so to speak, on that, just not this second. All right? So, we've got all that stuff done. Let's go in and open up our, get rid of this, I don't need that. So let's go in and let's open up our server.js file, okay? And we're going to put the usual kind of stuff in. In other words, const path equal require path, const express equal require express, const port equal, again, process.env.port, or I don't know, I'm going to make this up, 8888. Okay. Let's see, what else do we want to put in here for now? I'll tell you what, for right now, let's just do our app.listen. Oops, not append. App.listen. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a line. I apologize. So we want const app equals express. Express. Okay, there we go. Then app.listen, we'll put in port, and we will put in a fat arrow function that just says, you know, we'll put a console.log in there with a template string, app up and running on port. Get rid of that. All right, we've done this quite a few times before already, so there shouldn't be any surprises with anything that's in there. All right. Now, I don't even know what this is. I didn't put that in, so I'm just going to get rid of it. The system put that in for me. Now, the reason I've got a blank space right here is later we're going to be adding a bunch more stuff to this. So I'm going to do a file save. All right, I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to do my node mod. So I'm going to say npm run dev. I don't think I made any mistakes. It says that it's up and running on port 8888. You know, since we have not written any routes, that right now, when I bring up that port, it's going to come up with that cannot get slash. Let's double check that. So let's do a localhost :8888. And that's what we get, cannot get slash. Now, we all should be to the point where there's no surprise there, and all that makes sense. All right? Now, going back and taking a look at what we have in here right now, you can see the way this is set up is not good. All right? What do I mean? Well, there's actually, I'm going to do this a little bit out of order, but we want to be able to utilize the model view controller architecture in this project rather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and basically, for lack of better words, I'm going to come in and I'm going to create those particular folders. All right. So I'm going to come in here first and I'm going to put in a new folder and I'll call it models. All right, then I'm going to create another folder in here that I'll call views. And then I'm going to create another folder in here that I'm going to call controllers. And I've said this to you before. Sorry if I sound like a broken record, but what some people do is they call that the controllers thing routes, because that's what we're putting in there are routes. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to want to do after the break, basically, is to move all of this stuff that's in here that belongs in our public folder. We're going to want to put it into views. All right? And we're going to do that in just a couple minutes. But before we do this, let's just do a couple more things in here. We're almost ready for a break. All right. So after we set up our port and we've set up Express, okay, I'm going to go and add 2 lines of code in here. All right. First one is I'm going to say add middleware. This is going to be different, not right now, but a little bit later in here. We're going to write our own middleware. Let me give you an example of when you'd want to write your own middleware for this project, just so you can see it. Okay. Well, if I'm right here, and we're going to add some of our own links. I'm sorry, those don't read very well. But on top it says home, about, sample, post, and contact. All right, we're going to change some of those around. For instance, we're going to have a login in there. All right, and if you click login, okay, what should go away are some of the other things we put in there. But if you click login, you shouldn't be able to log in again once you're logged in. Does that make sense? In fact, log in should change to log out. And we'll do that by writing our own middleware. If you go in and you try to write your own post, so we change this, let's say, from sample post to new post, you click that and you're not logged in, you shouldn't be allowed to put in a post. You've got to be logged in order to be able to create a post. So we'll write middleware in order to be able to do that. Sometimes where you put the middleware in your project, the order, you've got to put it above or below certain things. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't matter. So we may end up moving stuff around a little bit as we go through this project, and that's just what I wanted you to hear that. All right, so that said, we're going to start adding middleware here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say app.use, okay, and then we want to say, well, what is it we want to use? So express.static public. All right, so this says that all of our static stuff, meaning our HTML files, our CSS files, our image files, any JavaScript we're writing on the client, they will all be in a folder named public. All right, so we're also going to come in here and we're going to set our view engine. And how do we do that? Well, not there. So set view engine. So app.set view engine. And again, when we're doing this, I'm just using embedded JavaScript. I think that's the easiest one to work with. We could use handlebars here, we could use pug, and there's even other ones that we could use. All right? All right. And we're going to put in one more thing, and then we're almost ready for a break so we can see if we can get everybody else's stuff up and running on Heroku. So I'm going to say here, connect to Mongoose. Now that's going to make, in order for us to connect, we're going to have to add that. So that'll be another thing that we're going to have to install. Does that make sense? We might as well just do that right now. So let's go back to here, and I'm going to stop the run, and I'm going to say npm I Mongoose. All right? And hit enter. Okay, and I can start this back up again then. Okay, didn't hurt anything. But I am going to come up on top here and say const mongoose equal require mongoose. All right, well, you better spell mongoose right if you want it to work. There we go. Okay. We're not doing anything with path yet. That's why it's gray. We're not doing anything with Mongo yet. That's why it's gray. We're going to do something with Mongoose right now. So down here, after where I put the comment in that says connect to Mongoose, I'm going to put in mongoose dot connect, and I'm going to put in the whole path for now. So MongoDB : //localhost. Now, don't put 8888 in here. This is the port that Mongoose runs on. The default port for that is 27017. I don't know why that is, but it is. Now, we're not done yet, but just so you know, right here, we're going to put in the name of our database. So we don't have a database yet. It'll be created for us when this line runs. All right? And we can call it whatever we want. I just call mine blog DB. You got to spell it right though. Blog DB. Okay? So, and again, not trying to talk down to anybody. Does everything we put in here so far make sense to everyone? Is there any questions on anything? All right. So I'm going to save. And even after I save, I should be able to go back to here. And it restarted, but that's not, it's restarting now, but sometimes it takes a little bit. But I shouldn't have any errors. I haven't put any code in here that should make anything break, so to speak. Okay? Now it is saying it's restarting due to changes, and I don't know why it's taking a little while longer than it usually does, but it is. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So, questions on anything we've done so far? All right, then it's 1:01. Let's take a break. Come back at 1:15. I'm hoping we can work together and see if we can get some of these working then by that time. So I'm going to do a file, save all, or just a save, I guess, here, and everything should be fine as far as I know. So